All right. Time to dive into this ICT Security Administrator interview prep.
We're going deep on this one.
We are. We've got your whole RoleCatcher stack right here.
Okay.
And this isn't just about getting the job. This is about like
Crushing it.
crushing it. Yeah.
Right.
So
Having the edge.
yeah, having the edge. Exactly. Exactly. So like one of those classic questions, right? What inspired you to pursue a career in ICT security administration?
Right.
But it's like, what are they really getting at with that,
I think it's the why. Like, what is it about cybersecurity that makes you tick?
Okay.
Was there an event that sparked that interest? Was it a major data breach you read about, or has it always been about the technology for you? Like, constantly wanting to know how things work, how to make them more secure.
So it's about connecting those dots for them. Like, this is my passion. This is my experience.
Yeah.
This is how it all kind of led me to this point.
And that's what they're looking for.
Yeah. And RoleCatcher actually highlights that in their career guide, how this field kind of attracts people from all sorts of backgrounds.
Right. It's not just one type of person that's good at this, which is what makes it so effective, right? The diversity of thought.
Right, right.
But again, you need to articulate that.
Yeah.
So, if your why is about the constant evolution of threats, weave that in. I was fascinated by, say, a specific example, maybe a type of attack, and I knew I wanted to be on the front lines of defending against that.
It's like you're giving them a glimpse into like your brain, your thought process almost.
Exactly.
Now, RoleCatcher's AI can actually analyze your answer here, right?
This is one of the things I think is super cool.
Yeah. How does that even work?
So it can tell you if you're using industry jargon effectively, if your tone matches the company culture. Because some places are super formal, others are much more relaxed.
Sure.
And it can even give you feedback on your body language.
Oh, wow.
So are you making eye contact? Are you fidgeting? Things like that. It's like having a practice run with an AI coach.
It's wild. Okay, so you've nailed the why of your journey, right?
Yeah.
Now, they hit you with, describe your experience in managing security incidents.
Yeah. Okay.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
So where you prove yourself.
Yeah.
But it's not just about listing off every firewall you've ever touched. You really want to focus on the impact you had. So instead of saying, I implemented a firewall, you could say, in my previous role, I noticed X vulnerability. So I implemented Y solution, which resulted in Z positive outcome. Quantify whenever possible.
So like reduce security breaches by 25%, that kind of thing?
Exactly.
Okay.
Numbers are your friend.
Got it.
Now, let's say they dig deeper, right? They say, can you walk us through a specific incident you handled and the steps you took? This is where that structured approach that RoleCatcher emphasizes is key. Remember their breakdown of the incident response cycle.
Yeah. It's like preparation, detection, containment. It was like a roadmap for like handling chaos, basically.
Exactly. Use that. So
Yeah.
you can say, first I did this, like isolating the affected system. Then I did this, like identifying the root cause. It shows that you have a process. You don't just panic and start Googling solutions when things hit the fan.
Right.
Which, let's be honest, we've all done at some point.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But in an interview, you want to project that you've got this.
And having that like clear, calm process is probably really reassuring for a potential employer.
Yeah.
Right? It shows you can handle the heat.
Absolutely.
Speaking of heat, what about when they ask, like, how do you stay up to date with like this ever-changing world of ICT security? Because this field, let's face it, it moves at warp speed.
It really does.
Yeah.
This is where you show you're not just keeping pace, but you're ahead of the curve.
Right.
Mentioning specific resources is huge here.
Okay.
So RoleCatcher, your research highlighted things like EC Council, CompTIA. Those are great ones.
Yeah.
But also personalize it. So say something like, I'm really interested in, and then you name a specific area, like cloud security, for example. So I follow, and then you'd say a blog, a podcast, an expert to stay informed.
It's like you're showing them you're a self-directed learner, you're curious,
Right.
You're really invested in this.
Yeah, you're passionate.
Okay. Now, I bet they'll also ask about compliance, right? Like, how have you ensured compliance with, relevant security standards and regulations?
Oh, definitely. And this isn't just about knowing the acronyms. It's about showing that you understand the why behind them and how they translate into action.
Right.
RoleCatcher's Guide breaks down a lot of common regulations, but you'll want to research the specific industry that you're interviewing for as well.
So, like, if it's a healthcare company, you'd mention IPA, that kind of thing?
Exactly. And don't just name drop. Again, bring it back to your experience. You could say, in my previous role, I'm not young. And then you would say a specific action you took, like implemented a new data encryption protocol, for example, to ensure compliance with, and then name the regulation.
So again, it's about connecting those dots for them.
Yes.
Like, I know this stuff, I've applied this stuff.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, let's talk about those curveball questions.
Okay.
Because RoleCatcher mentioned that interviewers often ask about your approach to risk management.
Right.
Something like, how do you prioritize security initiatives when, let's be real, resources are limited?
The classic budget crunch.
Right.
This is where you demonstrate your strategic thinking.
Okay.
Remember that risk assessment framework that RoleCatcher highlighted?
Yeah.
Use it. So you can say something like, I would first, and then you would describe how you assess the potential impact and likelihood of various threats. Then I'd motto, and you would talk about how you prioritize those initiatives based on their potential ROI and alignment with business goals.
So you're not just like throwing up firewalls everywhere.
Right.
You're being smart about it.
You have to be strategic.
Yeah.
Especially in those situations.
Right.
And this also ties back to those career stages we discussed earlier.
Okay.
Because as you gain more experience, you're expected to make those tough calls, right? To balance security with those business needs. And RoleCatcher's career guide can be really helpful for kind of seeing those expectations at each level.
It's like having a sneak peek at the hiring manager's like playbook almost.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of playbooks, what about when they ask, how would you handle a situation where you need to implement a new security policy, but, you know, it's met with resistance from employees?
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
That's a tough one.
It can be, but it's a great opportunity to showcase your communication and leadership skills.
Okay.
Because remember, security isn't just about tech.
Right.
It's about people, too.
Right.
And RoleCatcher really emphasizes the importance of clear, concise communication. So you could say something like, I would first explain the why behind the policy, focusing on the benefits to employees in the organization, not just like, because I said so.
Right.
Then you would talk about how you provide training and support to ensure everyone understands those new procedures, how to follow them.
It's about getting buy-in, not just dictating rules.
Exactly. And be prepared to address concerns.
Right.
Find solutions that work for everyone.
Right. Collaboration. Yeah.
Because that shows you're not just a techie. You're a leader who can navigate those sometimes tricky interpersonal dynamics.
Right. Now, I'm curious, what's your take on using RoleCatcher's AI to, like, practice these more nuanced answers?
I think it's invaluable, especially for those behavioral questions, because it can analyze your tone, your word choice, even your body language.
Wow.
And give you feedback on how you're coming across. Are you projecting confidence? Are you being too technical? The AI can pick up on those things that we might miss on our own.
It's like having like a personal branding consultant for your interview.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of question territory here.
We have.
What else does RoleCatcher offer to kind of help people really knock these interviews out of the park? So talked about like tackling those tough interview questions, right?
Right.
But what about the prep, like before the prep?
Right.
That's where RoleCatcher's AI resume builder comes in.
Absolutely, yeah. You could have all the right experience in the world, but if your resume doesn't grab their attention, you might not even get to show it off.
Right.
And what I think is so cool about RoleCatcher's AI is that it analyzes your resume based on actual job descriptions.
Okay.
Not just generic templates.
So it's like having a recruiter, like whispering in your ear, telling you, use these keywords, highlight these skills.
Exactly. It can even suggest improvements to your formatting and your wording to make sure that your resume is what they call ATS friendly.
Oh, right. The applicant tracking systems, right?
Yes. Those things are brutal.
It's like you need a computer science degree just to get your foot in the door sometime.
Right. But RoleCatcher's AI kind of takes the guesswork out of it.
Okay.
It helps you speak the language that those systems understand, so your application actually rises to the top of the pile.
Okay, so your resume is a masterpiece now.
Right.
You've aced the interview practice.
Right.
What about the day of the interview? Any last-minute advice from the RoleCatcher playbook?
Yeah, one thing they really emphasize is researching the company and even the interviewer, if you can.
Okay.
Because imagine this. You're in the interview, and you can actually connect your experience to their specific projects or initiatives.
Oh, wow.
You could say something like, I was really impressed by your work on Journal. And then you would mention a specific project, particularly how you And then you would mention a specific detail I can see my skills in. And then you would mention your area of expertise being a real asset to your team.
It's like you've done your homework.
Yes.
You're not just there for any ICT Security Administrator job. You're there for this one.
Exactly. Exactly. It shows that you're genuinely interested, that you've taken the time to understand their needs.
Okay. Now, before we wrap up, I have to ask about those, like, classic questions.
Okay.
Like, tell me about yourself, or what are your weaknesses?
Right.
They just seem so open-ended. Any tips from RoleCatcher on those?
Those are classics for a reason.
Okay.
They always come up.
Yeah.
So for tell me about yourself, they don't want your life story, right?
Right.
RoleCatcher recommends what they call a concise elevator pitch.
Okay.
So who you are professionally, what you're passionate about, and how it aligns with their needs.
So it's almost like the why of your career choice,
Yeah.
but with your, like, current skills and goals kind of woven in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then for what are your weaknesses? Honesty is key here, but you want to frame it positively.
Right.
So, for example, you could say, I'm sometimes too detail-oriented, but I'm working on finding that balance between thoroughness and efficiency.
So it's a weakness, but you're already addressing it. You're showing growth.
You're showing growth. And if possible, try to tie it back to something you're learning.
Okay.
Maybe mention a course you're taking, especially if it aligns with their needs.
It shows you're proactive.
Exactly.
You're always trying to improve.
Yes.
It's like turning a potential negative into, like, a positive.
Exactly.
Okay. Any final thoughts for, like, our aspiring ICT security administrators out there listening?
I think preparing for an interview, it can be really daunting, but remember, it's also an opportunity.
Okay.
Use this time to reflect on your skills, your passions, what you bring to the table. And don't forget to use those amazing resources that RoleCatcher provides.
Yeah, absolutely. They've really, like, taken the guesswork out of interview prep. I mean, with their insights and those AI-powered tools, you can walk into that interview feeling confident, prepared, and ready to land your dream job.
Exactly. Good luck out there.
Good luck.